So the first article I want to take a look at tonight is entitled InfoWars Deanna Lorraine Claims the Left May Have Given Trump COVID-19 Through His Debate Mic. This is from rightwingwatch.org. It's written by Peter Montgomery. So let's give the article a read and see what it has to say. Deanna Lorraine, a QAnon-promoting internet personality who parlayed a 2% showing in her run for Congress into a gig at InfoWars, spent the morning tweeting conspiracy theories about the news that President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump had contracted COVID-19. A number of QAnon-promoting accounts buzzed with speculation that Trump's diagnosis is a cover story to allow him to stay in a safe place while the long-awaited storm of mass arrests of powerful satanic finally takes place. But Lorraine suggested that Trump had been intentionally infected by the left, perhaps through his debate microphone. Here's a quote from one of her tweets. "I'm just going to say what we're all thinking. Trump was fine until the debate, where they set up microphones and podiums for him. Incubation period is usually 2 to 3 days. I'm questioning that. I don't think that's exactly correct, incubation period being 2 to 3 days. I can't look it up at this immediate moment, but if somebody wants to look it up in chat and at me in the live chat, I would appreciate it. I don't know. I don't know what the incubation period is, either way. He tests positive a couple days after the debate. I put nothing past the left. Nothing. Trump has COVID. Hashtag Trump has COVID." This is despite the fact that this woman is obviously completely off her rocker, and she's very obviously a cult member. I've covered this woman before, actually. I've covered her before on the podcast. She is deep in the Trump cult. Deep in it, man. It's really, really sad to see. I'm very disheartened by the fact that she's so deep in this belief system. It's disturbing. Aside from that fact, I've seen some other disturbing things coming from my side of the political spectrum, the left, that have also been very disturbing to me. And I'll get into it in a second. Let's keep reading. This is Right Wing Watch. Lorraine, who has accused Trump of taking his base for granted when he appeared in public wearing a mask, also twisted a straightforward CNN tweet about Trump's risk factors to portray it as the media celebrating Trump's diagnosis. This is her tweet. Quote, "Look at them celebrating already. When he beats this, will you admit that you were all wrong?" This is Right Wing Watch again. She suggested that something nefarious was behind the fact that more prominent Republicans have come down with COVID-19 than Democrats. It does not seem to have occurred to her that it might have something to do with the fact that many Republicans have joined Trump in downplaying the virus, mocking mask wearing, and opposing other public health protocols. This is another tweet from her. Quote, "Does anyone else find it odd that no prominent Democrats have had the virus, but the list of Republicans goes on and on?" Right Wing Watch again. "And it doesn't appear that she's about to concede to those who suggest mask wearing might be a useful safeguard." This is another tweet. "What's more useless, Joe Biden or masks?" This is another tweet. "I am the most anti-feminist woman on the planet." This is back to Right Wing Watch. There's a lot of competition for that title, but Lorraine did recently urge women to vote for Trump the way they would choose a boyfriend or husband, by selecting someone who is tough and strong, who's a little bit of an a-hole sometimes. Why would anybody want someone who's an a-hole sometimes? Earlier this year, Lorraine portrayed her run for the seat held by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi as a David and Goliath battle. Her campaign slogan was God, Family, and Country, and she was endorsed by Trump-promoting megachurch pastor Jack Hibbs, who said he called San Francisco pastors on behalf of her crusade. When her race failed, she took to promoting herself via online videos, and spreading COVID-19 conspiracies became one of her go-to themes. She got a visibility boost in April when Trump retweeted her call to fire Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, that's who it was. I remember that whole debacle. In April, she said she wasn't buying that COVID-19 was disproportionately harming black Americans, but said that if it were, it might be because black people were ignoring public health guidelines to have house parties and barbecues and crawfish boils. Wow, dude. Wow. Holy hell, this woman. Jesus Christ. What is wrong with this woman? So about Trump getting the virus. Should we be celebrating this? There's a lot of debate about this right now. My latest video coming out is about the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body members, hate apostates and wish they were dead. That is what the video is about. I scripted it like before I knew that Trump was sick. This is how I have felt for a long time. It's wrong for Jehovah's Witnesses to wish that apostates were dead, right? Simple. It's wrong. It's wrong for pastors to pray that Ruth Bader Ginsburg die, right? That's wrong. How could I possibly condemn somebody for praying for RBG's death? How could I condemn the governing body members for wishing that apostates were dead while still wishing that for Trump? How could I do that and be morally consistent? It's wrong to wish somebody was dead. That's the default position, and I think that the majority of people know that. Human life comes before all else. Human life, as a humanist, I believe that human life is the most important thing. There is an argument that Trump is so harmful to society, to the world, that the world would be a safer place if he were dead. And I think that that's probably correct. It would be. But that's a pragmatic argument. If we're talking about a pragmatic argument, like we need to look at the situation and figure out what the best thing would be, how this would play out in the best way, I don't think that Trump's death would be the best thing actually right now. If we're looking pragmatically instead of morally, I think our best bet would actually be for Trump to be defeated at the polls. If Trump did die tomorrow, for example, Pence would most likely take his place. Not guaranteed necessarily. There's a lot of questions surrounding what would happen exactly, but Pence would probably take his place, right? I think Pence would have a far better chance of of winning against Biden. And the reason I think that is because Trump is extremely polarizing. Trump is hated by a lot of people, and he's motivating a lot of people who would not otherwise be voting to vote. If Trump is out of the picture, those people aren't going to see it as important anymore. Well, Pence is just a normal old Republican. He's just a normal old guy, same as George Bush, same as anybody else. Obviously, Pence is really, really terrible, and I think my audience knows that I feel that way. But that's what the undecided voter who would otherwise be voting Biden is going to think. It's not as big of a rush anymore. Pragmatically, if that's the argument you want to go with, is the world better off with or without Trump? Obviously, the world's better off without him because he's acting like a dictator. But I think that his followers need to see his defeat at the polls to try to eradicate this kind of Trumpist situation we find ourselves in. Eradicate this Trumpist mindset, this cult mindset. The most effective way to defeat that mindset right now is beating him in the polls. If he dies before that happens, he's going to be a martyr. And it's going to get worse. So if we're talking pragmatically, like is the world better off with or without him? I think the answer right now, at this immediate moment, is that it would be more harmful to the world for him to die at this immediate moment. If we're talking like 2 or 3 years ago, it'd be a different story. But I'm not talking pragmatically. I'm talking morally. Morally speaking, it's wrong for Jehovah's Witnesses to wish apostates were dead. It's wrong for pastors to pray for RBG to die. It's wrong for us to wish death on somebody. That's how I feel about it. And I've been attacked mercilessly by people on Twitter for it. Anyway, I don't celebrate the death of anybody. As a humanist, I don't want anybody to die. Even if that person doesn't value human life like I do, doesn't change the fact that I value human life. Whether Trump sees how important every life is or not, which obviously he doesn't, it's irrelevant. I do. Cults go into this ends justify the means mindset. Cults go into this idea that anything is justified if it gets you to your goal. Doing an evil act is okay if it's in service to the greater good. Scientology believes that. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that. A ton of different groups, a ton of different cults believe that. I left that behind. Everybody listening right now, you guys left that behind too, presumably. If you left a cult, you probably left that mindset behind. Or you should have at the very least. Committing an evil act or wishing for an evil act to take place in service of the greater good is what cult members believe. We left that shit behind. I don't wish death on anybody. I wish Trump would no longer be able to hurt anybody. I wish we could find a solution where human life was preserved, all human life. So, anyways, point is, I'm not going to celebrate anybody's death. I'm not happy that there's a human being suffering right now. I'm not happy about that. I do not like that. I wish that it wasn't happening. On the flip side, if this experience forces Trump to recognize what this is and how serious it is, I'll jump for joy. If he comes out the other side alive and more aware of the situation emotionally and mentally, I will throw a party, a single person party. As long as he survives. I don't want anyone to die. Anyways, that's how I feel about it. I'm sure I lost some subscribers. I'm sure you guys are really unhappy. I'm sure my chat's a fucking train wreck right now. So I apologize for that. That's just what it is. Oh, and something else. It's very tempting to engage in conspiracy theories. I've been tempted. For example, I'm wondering, Trump obviously caught it before Thursday because that's when he started showing symptoms. Or before Wednesday, I'm sorry. He started showing symptoms on Wednesday or Thursday, right? Wednesday night, supposedly. There is an incubation period. I don't know how long it is. Did anybody leave a message about it by chance? It's 15 days, give or take. Incubation period is between 2 and 14 days. Okay. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. Life in the Doghouse, The Gaytheist, Amanda Schultz. Thanks for clearing that up. Incubation period is between 2 and 14 days. He started showing symptoms on Wednesday night, from my understanding. That means he caught it Monday or earlier. That means at the debate, he had it. More than likely. I was tempted to engage in a conspiracy theory that he arrived late at the debate because he suspected he might have it and he wanted the debate to take place anyways. I don't know. That is a conspiracy theory, though. I don't know. Nobody knows. We have no idea. There's no reason to speculate. We shouldn't be speculating because we don't have all the information. There's no reason to think we do or any of that stuff. So, as tempting as it is to speculate, we have to refrain from doing so. Another conspiracy theory is that he's faking it, and that crossed my mind for a minute, too. It's possible. Maybe he is. I don't know. That's really what it boils down to, though, isn't it? I don't know. None of us know. We're just going to have to wait it out and see. On the DL, I don't think he's faking because, I don't know, it's just very complicated, and there's a question about whether or not that would help or hurt him. I think it's going to hurt him, the fact that he caught it. I think it's going to hurt him politically. So my suspicion is he's probably not faking. Also, I watched his news conference with the doctors earlier. I watched the doctors' news conferences, and they it just didn't come across to me like it was being faked or anything. So I don't know. Time will tell. I guess we'll have answers with time, right? In 50 years, we'll look back on this whole situation and figure out, we'll have the answers that we were seeking all this time.